Especially gratified to see so many of you, and it's an odd feeling to think that above us there's another kind of virtual audience, and special hello to you. If Tom Lux is to be believed, he'll tell me after the reading there were 7 stories of people up there, and it's gratifying to be part of this sort of, I'd say previous oxymoron, the idea of poetry at Georgia Tech, which is now becoming less oxymoronic, and great to see be part of the sort of infiltration of poetry into the precincts of civil engineering. I'm going to start just reading a poem to the reader. I'm very slavishly reader conscious. It takes, if you imagine yourself actually typing with a reader in mind, it takes some of the loneliness out of the act of writing. And this poem is dedicated to the reader. It's just called You, Reader. I keep wondering how you are going to feel when you find out that I wrote this instead of you. That it was I who got up early to sit in the kitchen and mention with a pen the rain-soaked windows, the ivy wallpaper, and the goldfish circling in its bowl. Go ahead and turn aside, bite your lip and tear out the page, but listen, it was just a matter of time before one of us happened to notice the unlit candles and the clock humming on the wall. Plus, nothing happened that morning. A song on the radio, a car whistling along the road outside. And I was only thinking about the shakers of salt and pepper that were standing side by side on a placemat. I wondered if they had become friends after all these years, or if they were still strangers to one another, like you and I, who managed to be known and unknown to each other at the same time, me at this table with a bowl of pears, you leaning in a doorway somewhere near some blue hydrangeas reading this. So that's a little if someone out there wants to make a lot of money, just invent a podium with a thing to put water in it. I mean, it's just incredible. And the thing is that usually, the only place to put the water is down below here, and below is full of electronics. So you have this mixture of water and electricity every time you go to get a sip. It's very nerve-wracking. This poem has the kind of unbelievably dull title of, it's called Monday. I would change it to Wednesday and add some pizzazz to it, but it's sort of about routine, so it's called Monday. The birds are in their trees, the toast is in the toaster, and the poets are at their windows. They are at their windows in every section of the tangerine of earth, the Chinese poets looking up at the moon, the American poets gazing out at the pink and blue ribbons of sunrise. The clerks are at their desks, the miners are down in their mines, and the poets are looking out their windows, maybe with a cigarette, a cup of tea, and maybe a flannel shirt or a bathrobe is involved. The proofreaders are playing the ping-pong game of proofreading, glancing back and forth from page to page. The chefs are dicing celery and potatoes, and the poets are at their windows because it is their job for which they are paid nothing every Friday afternoon. Which window, it hardly seems to matter, though many have a favorite, for there is always something to see. A bird grasping a thin branch, the headlights of a taxi rounding a corner, those 2 boys in wool caps angling across the street. The fishermen bob in their boats, the linemen climb their round poles, the barbers wait by their mirrors and chairs, and the poets continue to stare at the cracked bird bath or a limb knocked down by the wind. By now, it should go without saying that what the oven is to the baker, and the berry-stained blouse to the dry cleaner, so the window is to the poet. Just think, before the invention of the window, the poets would have to put on a jacket and a winter hat to go outside, or remain indoors with only a wall to stare at. And when I say a wall, I do not mean a wall with striped wallpaper and a sketch of a cow in a frame. I mean a cold wall of fieldstones, the wall of the medieval sonnet, the original woman's heart of stone, the stone caught in the throat of her poet lover. Thank you. After I wrote this poem, I thought of this theological exchange, this question and answer. And the question is, how do you make God laugh? And the answer is, make a plan. And that's... it's more or less about things going awry. It's called the order of the day. A morning after a week of rain and the sun shot down through the branches and into the tall, bare windows. The brindled cat rolled over on his back, and I could hear you in the kitchen grinding coffee beans into a powder. Everything seemed especially vivid because I knew we were all going to die. First the cat, then you, then me. Then somewhat later, the liquefied sun was the order I was envisioning. But then again, you never really know. The cat had a fiercely healthy look. His coat so bristling and electric, I wondered what you had been feeding him and what you had been feeding me. As I turned a corner in the house, and beheld you suddenly out on the sunny deck, exercising fiercely, running in place, knees lifted high, skin glistening, and that toothy, immortal-looking smile of yours. I mention a cat in there, and I consider it bad luck if you, even the slightest mention of a cat, you should read a poem about a dog. Just to balance that equation out. It's from probably watching too many cartoons. So this poem is about my dog. It's called darma. Darma is a word that I can't really quite define it, but it's something to do with your spiritual essence or spiritual destiny. It's not the dog's name, by the way. The dog's name is Janine, which is a far cry from Dharma. But if you name a dog, you want to name a dog something you can yell off the back porch in the middle of the night without excessive embarrassment. So Janine seemed better than Dharma or Clytemnestra or other options. It's like when you name a child, always think that they're going to go through high school with that name, right? It's the same consideration. Anyway, Dharma. The way the dog trots out the front door every morning without a hat or an umbrella, without any money or the keys to her doghouse, never fails to fill the saucer of my heart with milky admiration. Who provides a finer example of a life without encumbrance? Thoreau, in his curtainless hut with a single plate, a single spoon? Gandhi, with his staff and his knotted diapers? Off she goes into the material world with nothing but her brown coat and her modest blue collar, following only her wet nose, the twin portals of her steady breathing, followed only by the plume of her tail. If only she did not shove the cat aside every morning and eat all his food. What a model of self-containment she would be. What a paragon of earthly detachment. If only she were not so eager for a rub behind the ears, so acrobatic in her welcomes. If only I were not her God.